HIPAA privacy and security rules define breaches and how potential or actual breaches must be handled. This section will cover what a breach is, as well as complaints, reporting, compliance, and investigating breaches at SRHD. A breach is the acquisition, access, use, or disclosure of PHI in a manner not prohibited which compromises the security or privacy of the PHI. An impermissible use or disclosure of PHI is presumed to be a breach unless the covered entity or business associate demonstrates that there is a low probability that the PHI has been compromised based on a risk assessment of at least the following factors: the nature and extent of the PHI involved, including the types of identifiers and the likelihood of re-identification, the authorized person who used the PHI or to whom the disclosure was made, whether the PHI was actually acquired or viewed, and the extent to which the risk to the PHI has been mitigated. Clients have the right to make complaints about a violation to their privacy rights. At SRHD, if a client feels their privacy rights have been violated, they can file a complaint directly with the HIPAA Privacy and Security Officer or fill out a HIPAA Privacy and Security Complaint form. They may also file a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. If you become aware of a security incident or potential breach of PHI or client confidential information, you are required to report it immediately, but no later than 1 business day after you discover it. In addition, you are responsible to report the loss or theft of an SRHD-owned device. If the device was stolen, you must also file a police report. Incidents, potential breaches, or lost or stolen devices should be reported to the HIPAA Privacy and Security Officer. You may be held individually responsible for disregarding or failing to adhere to SRHD policies and procedures or state and federal laws. You may be subject to criminal penalties and civil fines. At SRHD, if you improperly use or disclose PHI and/or other confidential information, you are subject to corrective or disciplinary action. The HIPAA privacy and security rules establish criminal and civil penalties. You, as an employee, could face criminal penalties for knowingly violating the privacy and security rules. That includes fines, imprisonment, or both. The penalties are tiered based on the intent and severity of the violation. For knowingly violating policies and standards, fines can be up to $50,000, 1 year imprisonment, or both. Violations for commercial, personal gain, or malicious harm can be fined up to $250,000, 10 years imprisonment, or both. Civil penalties may be imposed against SRHD for violating the HIPAA privacy and security rules. SRHD could experience fines from $100 to $50,000 or more for each violation and up to $1.5 million for multiple violations of the same HIPAA requirement. In 2015, the University of Washington Medicine received a fine of $750,000 for failing to implement policies and procedures to prevent, detect, contain, and correct security violations. They were also given a corrective action plan and have to submit annual reports on the organization's compliance efforts. It is the responsibility of the HIPAA Privacy and Security Officer or designee to investigate incidents and potential breaches. They are required to gather data to determine if a breach has occurred. If a breach has been confirmed, the HIPAA Privacy and Security Officer or designee must determine the intent, verify impacting factors, and define mitigation steps, including, where applicable, a recommendation for potential corrective action. The HIPAA Privacy and Security Officer is also responsible to notify affected individuals. And if the breach affects more than 500 individuals, They are responsible to notify the individuals, prominent media in the area, and the Office of Civil Rights. If defined in a contract, the SRHD employee designated as point of contact is responsible to ensure they notify the appropriate agency in the correct amount of time if a breach has occurred.